All right, and we are live. Hello, everybody! It's day 6 of the Woods Hole Film Festival. I'm really excited to be joined by filmmakers from 3 awesome films this morning. We're going to talk for about 45 minutes, and all their films are available to watch now through the 29th through August 1st as part of the 29th Woods Hole Film Festival. So why don't we start with Merlin? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Hey, I'm Merlin Kamosi. I'm a director and writer based in Los Angeles, and I have a film called In the Mirrors in the festival, and it's a horror short.
Movatu?
Hi, my name is Mo Vatu. I am the producer, one of the producer of In the Mirror.
Why don't we round out the In the Mirror crew with Nicole?
Hi, my name is Nicole Tompkins, and I am an actor in Los Angeles, and I'm in the Mirrors.
Next, let's head over to Kyle with Honor Thy Mother.
Hi, I'm Kyle Bachman. I'm the cinematographer for Honor Thy Mother.
And then we have Hui. Sorry. I practiced it in my head like 5 times before this, but okay.
No pressure. You said it really well. So my name is Hui. I'm the director of the horror short Honor Thy Mother, and I'm a filmmaker based in China, now in Beijing on a business trip, but normally I'm in Shanghai. So hello everyone.
And then finally, let's have Steven.
How's it going? My name's Steven Kunovich. I'm one of the producers on Home with For the Night, which is a drama.
Great, awesome. So I guess the next place to go is have each of you guys tell us a little bit about your films. What program are they playing in? Why should people want to see them right now? Why are they awesome? What's it about? Who would like to start? No takers? I feel like I'm like a teacher in the class.
Merlin, tell us about your film.
Yeah, and I can explain what program the film's in.
Yeah, what? Remind me what program we're in.
It's Don't Look Now. It's like
okay, Don't Look Now. Yes. Yeah. So I guess why should you watch our film? I think because it's good and it's short. So 2 good reasons to watch it. We kind of designed the film as like it was a little bit of a ride, and so it's kind of like suspense and tension, and it has like a cool concept behind it. For me, I was like inspired by spending a lot of time growing up in my grandparents' house, which is this 300-year-old farmhouse in New England, and I totally don't believe in ghosts at all, but like I do believe that place is haunted because you just hear people walking around in there, and so I was just kind of that really classic like bump in the night kind of feeling. I took that and combined it with like a concept that like was in my head, which was the idea of ghosts or these kind of ghoul creatures that you could only see using a mirror. And I thought that was an interesting idea. 1, because like I hadn't never seen it before, and 2, because it like means that you have to look away from the thing like in order to see the thing that's coming to get you. And I thought that was like an interesting kind of like metaphorical idea. So if you like horror shorts, you might like it.
And Movatu and Nicole, what made you guys want to work on the project?
I mean, Merlin is incredibly passionate and super talented and super fun, and a good dear mutual friend of ours connected us, and he just was like, I have this cool idea, you can only see it in the mirrors. And I was like, sweet, it's going to be hard to film. There's going to be lots of like using, mirrors or like shards of glass to like see things. There's going to be some stunts, and I was just like, heck yeah, let's do it. Sounds like a blast. And sure enough, it was a blast.
Yeah, me and Merlin, we actually met, I think around like 2 weeks before the shoot, I believe. And then, so that's how I get into the project. And so it's like, I think you were almost shooting at a time. So I was kind of like helping, trying to find some crew. And then, but mostly, so I was on set and then pretty much work on like post-production, like help submitting film to festival and like, you know, bringing him through the process of post-production. And I mean, he has been a great friend and also like teach me a lot of stuff. So I'm really happy to be working with him on the project. Plus it's like horror film is my first horror film with the cool concept, like what they were telling you. So
Yeah,
you guys should check it out.
really cool concept. I've seen all your films. I part of the programming team, so I was watching your films back in March, April, whenever they were submitted, and I loved, and I thought In the Mirrors was such a cool, inventive idea. So thank you for submitting it and bringing it to Woods Hole. All right, next let's head over to the Honor Thy Mother crew. What's your film about? How'd you come up with it? Tell us about it.
Yeah, great. First of all, I don't really know. I don't know what program you're in. You remind
You're in Biggest Gamble.
Okay, so great. Biggest Gamble. So just in that program. We have
Oh no, coming in and out.
Fairy tale. Actually, most fairy tales. Yeah. Yeah, and story is about mother and a daughter, and it's really about their relationship. The daughter has left home for years and she's living life, and the daughter has met some difficulties in life, and when she's in her most desperate state, she decides to go back and visit her mother, and things just go weird when she arrives home. And the whole story is inspired by a feeling, because I've lived abroad. I've lived apart from my parents since I left college. So it's like for years, and every time I visit them, maybe I visit them like once a year, and there is time when I go back and I just find them aged so much than I remembered. So it's really inspired us such kind of feeling, and it really addressed that in a modern society you have this struggle to because as a Chinese, we are supposed to take care of our parents when they're alive. But on the other hand, the modern society doesn't really allow that. You have to leave to pursue your dream, pursue your career, pursue your own life. So there's always this inner struggle in me. Maybe it's a combination of guilt, a combination of fear, a combination of love, and then the whole story is inspired by that kind of feeling. Yeah. So Kyle,
do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, I don't know how much I have to add, except to say that it was an easy decision to work with Hui. I worked with her on 2 other shorts before this. So when she said that she wanted to do this story, I was like, sure, let's do it. So it's she's a great collaborator. So
yeah, I've loved all these films. I think Honor Thy Mother, I just love I think saying that it was based on a feeling, you really do get that when you're watching the film, and you see it in all the aspects, from the directing to the production design. So nicely done. We have a new person joining us, Andrew from housekeeping. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us about housekeeping?
Andrew, you're muted. Nope.
Okay,
Nope.
There you go.
Sorry. So my name is Andy, and I am the writer-director of Housekeeping, which is a short film that we shot in Belgrade in Serbia. It's kind of a two-hander story about a business traveler who goes to a hotel and sort of strikes up a kind of mad relationship with the chambermaid, and they have a kind of crazy night, and then she stays, and it's kind of like the microcosm of a relationship in like 2 days, and it turns out she's not really a chambermaid. She's like a stowaway in this giant hotel, which is one of those old communist hotels that's been revamped. So it's a huge, vast kind of ocean liner of a hotel. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. And Andrew, where are you zooming in from today?
I'm in London, in the UK.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's why I'm late. I was getting confused with the time zones. Sorry.
Understandable. It's all good. And finally, why don't we head over to Stephen? Tell us about Home for the Night.
Yeah. So Home for the Night, it's basically about a story of a brother and sister trying to figure out how basically to survive. They're in a situation where they need to be living out of their car, trying to find out different situations of how to get just shelter for the night. And just like, it brings up like, it's kind of like a more very connecting story of just like a brother and sister going through different obstacles throughout the day and night, just to survive, and just that connectiveness between the two. It's really interesting. Like towards the end, like there's just like my favorite scene when they are brushing their teeth. That gets me every time, just because it's like a very heartfelt pulling of the strings moment, you know.
It really is. It really is. So I guess that kind of the next question, next thing to discuss is, so all your films are in different shorts blocks, but we kind of organize them for this call under the title Life on the Road. How do you think life on the road, how do you feel like this phrase applies to your film? Give you a moment, think. Anybody want to start off?
Yeah. For Home for the Night, for them, it's literally life on the road for them, as they found out they have to sleep in their car over the night, travel to where they need to go throughout the day. So it's literally their lives are on the road. And you can see that at the end with that same scene, brushing their teeth along the shoreline. So it's just kind of great capturing all that.
Right. Anybody?
Yeah, in the mirrors, she runs into the worst Airbnb you could possibly imagine. So it's life on the road, because she's there for a job interview and gets a whole lot more than she bargained for.
Honor thy mother, housekeeping, either of you. How does life on the road work?
For Honor Thy Mother, yeah. For Honor Thy Mother, well, we can see in the film that the protagonist, the daughter, lives in her car. That's like the literal interpretation of life on the road. But on the other hand, you know, as I explained, like I feel like my adult life is a life on the road. I'm always moving around. Like I don't really feel some place is my home. When I go back to Shanghai, I don't feel that's my hometown. So I become more ruthless in a way. So for me, it's really like searching for a place for your soul. It's kind of, yeah. That's my understanding.
Oh, I think that's perfect. Andrew?
So I guess Life on the Road applies to housekeeping in the sense that the kind of main character is traveling for business. So he's on the road and checking into a kind of very anonymous hotel that could be anywhere, like all these hotel chains, everything's the same. And so it's kind of, I mean, it's a comedy, but there's a kind of serious element to it, which is in some way commenting on, you know, if you're on the road going every day, you're in a different country or whatever, it's easy to forget about the actual place you're visiting and what really is going on there. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a story in a way of, I guess, a guy whose life is on the road. Yeah.
Yeah. I think another thing that I liked about all your films is that, and I think kind of connects all your films, is they all feel very much like you're kind of, all the characters they're searching for something. They're on the road because they're looking for something, whether it's they're trying to find companionship in housekeeping, or in the mirrors, she's looking for a job and she's traveled to find a job. And I think that in the kind of this search that all your characters are going through, you really get some really interesting stories and you get these wonderful films. Trying to think of where I'm going with this with the question, but how do you kind of feel, what do you think your character, how do you feel your characters are kind of searching or looking for something, and how do you think that translates in your film?
I guess in our film, there's a very. Go ahead, Wei.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in my film, my character, my protagonist, she lives in a car, so definitely, like, apparently she doesn't really live a comfortable life, so she goes back home, searching for safety, for kind of security in a way, and she wants to parents is, for me, it's always, they are always there. And when I was little, they're like the safety net for your life. When you struggles, you go to your parents and they solve all the problems for you. Then there's some time of life, then you realize that they're relying on you, and they withers and they become the weak person. So this security and the safety net just dissolved. And in a way, I think my protagonist, she goes back for reassurance, for safety, but she cannot find it anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, Merlin.
It's funny to like look back on this film now, because it was like, at the time we made it, it was like this very normal thing of like traveling to go to a job interview, and now it sort of seems like this like historical time capsule or something of something that doesn't exist anymore.
When we still went to Airbnbs.
What's that?
When we still went to Airbnbs.
Yeah. I mean, like the idea of like flying across the country for a job interview, I think feels so incredibly foreign right now. So I've just kind of been like, yeah, it's a short film, and it's mostly about like the scares, but I have sort of like wondered, like, how does the film read now? Like when people watch it, do they just kind of like turn off the COVID part of their brain and just think like, it's probably pretty easy to go back to like the way that life was, but it's also like, I don't know when that's gonna happen again, and that we're like just getting on a plane to go to a job interview in a different city. But I think that like that's always an interesting thing, because like for me at least, whenever I do that, it's like inherently a little bit unsettling to like travel somewhere and have to like perform for people that you don't know in some strange office, and like inevitably the idea of just like sleeping in a house or in an apartment or in a hotel or whatever that's like not a place that you're familiar with, under this situation that's like a little bit like high pressure, I think is like, I think it kind of like I think it raises the stakes. I don't know, I've had that experience a lot of times of like of going to a new city for a meeting or a job interview, like getting somewhere and I'm like, there's some crazy noise outside and I can't sleep, or like what have you. So I think that idea of like going somewhere and it's unpredictable and you don't know what's going to happen, and you're like and you're searching for something, in this case like searching for a job, but I think it's like it in many ways is like kind of like this like adventure that like everyone can relate to, which has highs and lows of like when you go somewhere new, it's unpredictable. So I don't know, that's something a couple of things I've been thinking about with regards to that film lately.
Yeah. Stephen or Andy?
I'm sorry, I forgot what the question was, to be honest.
So we were talking a little bit about, what are your characters searching for, and how does that work
yeah,
into
I remember. Well, yeah, I mean, it's in a short film. I mean, the central character in my film is this guy who's just you don't really know anything about him. He's just a kind of regular everyman who checks into the hotel, and then this strange thing happens with the housekeeping woman, who they sort of have this kind of awkward, right, he's trying to get the TV to work and she's messing around and accidentally hits on a porn channel, and they kind of have this like moment of connection where they laugh, and then so it becomes apparent that they end up having a crazy fun time, and it becomes apparent that he is kind of a lonely guy who is very grateful to have. It's not a sex thing. It's more. We never even know if they had sex or not. We don't show that part. But they spend the night together and they get on really well. And there's a kind of. It's almost like this guy. And we find out a bit about him. We find out he's divorced. He's got 2 kids, and it's kind of sad backstory. But I suppose through this chance encounter, he kind of rediscovers some joy. And yeah. I don't know. Should I keep going?
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, Steven?
Yeah, so for Home for the Night, while the characters are literally searching for a home, they're also figuratively searching for like home, which is comfort in each other, which you can kind of see that towards the end with the brother getting more comfortable and finding that comfort with his sister through all these hard times, because throughout the whole thing, you can only imagine what's on his mind, trying to find shelter for them, but also figuratively trying to find comfort within each other, within the given situation, things like that. So the whole short's kind of like basically the literal versus the figurative of what comfort and home means to them.
That's great. Really, again, I feel like I keep saying how much I love all these films, but I really do. I really did enjoy watching them. And I think as someone as an audience member, I think when you watch these films, you get to the end and none of your films really end the way you want them to end. I think we all kind of want a happy ending a lot of times, and in some cases a lot of these endings are more bittersweet. Right? How did you kind of come to the conclusion to end your films where you did? Because again, these are all short films, so they're all taking place, I think In the Mirrors is about 8 minutes. I think Housekeeping's 17, 18. So you're obviously, probably in some cases you have an idea of where it'd go farther, but choosing to end the story where you did, what made you make that decision?
Well, I think in our case it was we ran out of time.
It's done. Let her go.
It's a classic low budget filmmaking story. I had this idea of setting up this world where at the end, Nicole's character would become one of the ghoul creatures, and there would be like kind of this like end credit sequence where you see her like become one of the creatures that's haunting this house. And we got to the we had 2 days to shoot, and on the second production day we just didn't get to it. And like when we were gonna try to get to it, the makeup situation was just Nicole, how long was it gonna take? Was it gonna be like an hour or like way more than that?
They were like, we need 2 hours because of the outfit that they wanted me in. It was like way too much full body makeup.
Okay, yeah. So we were like at the end of this like sort of long day where we had like done this action sequence, and it was gonna be like 2 hours of makeup, and so we ended up having to like kill that part. Luckily we shot some like other footage that we ended up using to kind of like wrap up the piece. But I mean, it's like that's real life, so that's we sort of ended it, and it found a different ending in post, basically.
I was terrified watching your film. I was like, oh, this is 8 minutes. Like, it's like a really, it should be that scary. And then you start watching, you're like, oh my gosh, no, this is legitimately terrifying.
A lot of people have said it's really scary. It's, it's funny, like, it's hard to make something and like be scared by it, but I've been really encouraged by like how many people have said like, no, it's legitimately very scary.
Well, besides the fact that you have the monsters, it's also this idea that that Nicole's character is alone in this house. So you have that already, like you're kind of afraid of being alone in some place you don't know. So you already have that fear, and then you add in monsters on top of it.
Yeah. And we got that great, like amazing, beautiful kind of creepy house. Like I think we pushed the shoot, like, Nicole, like how many times? Like at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that house itself was an Airbnb, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He basically got the most terrifying Airbnb that was right underneath an actual flight path to LAX.
Yeah.
So like planes went off every 10 minutes while we were shooting and rattled the entire house. And he was like, cool, it's part of the story now.
Yeah, the house would actually shake when the planes flew over. It was pretty insane.
Wow, it's cool.
And sometimes, like when we were they were shooting downstairs, some of us has to be upstairs, and it was so scary to be upstairs because like so quiet, and then like it's vintage, and we were talking about this house is actually scary. It's
oh yeah, the wind upstairs, right?
Oh yeah, right, and it make noise.
Yeah, there's like this kind of like haunting wind sound in the upstairs that the windows, I think, made. It was pretty perfect for what we were
basically doing. They picked a terrifying Airbnb to film their horror Airbnb story.
Perfect. Who wants to go next? Kind of talk about how you decided where to come to where to end your film.
I can go. Yeah, because Airbnb, we also showed it Airbnb. So yeah, maybe it's a film on the Airbnb. It's we call our Airbnb. It's like a really old castle. We call it Prague, and we found this amazing house. And it was built before the revolution. So it has this really amazing quality. It's really, it looks falling apart from outside. And the ending, the location. Well, we wrote the ending. We showed it chronologically because of the production. We need to transform the whole location. So we have to we determined, we decided ending from the very because I don't want to but I think it has to we changed the beginning parts, but the ending I think for me this I don't know how you would interpret it. In the end, the location is life. But it's really hard to explain. And really, please try. Well, we want this location life, and I hope that.
Kyle, do you have anything you'd like to include about the ending?
So how well could everyone hear her? It sounded broken up over here.
You can we can repeat it again, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So
I think it might be your headset.
You could hear okay?
No, I couldn't. No,
you couldn't. Okay.
I'm just wondering if it's the mic.
I don't think so. I think it's
yeah. The next.
Oh, there you go.
Kyle, please. You're on.
Okay. So
it is breaking up, I think.
it's kind of difficult to talk about the ending without spoilers, and I'm assuming that some people who are watching this haven't seen it.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
no spoilers.
it, it is something. I think that I'm not usually big on spoilers, but I do feel like it affects this story. But as Hui was saying, we had to shoot chronologically because of the way that the story develops in at the end in the third act. But that's something that we knew about early on. We knew that that's where it was going to end. We knew how it was going to begin, and it was the stuff in the middle that took a little time to develop. So it felt like the right place. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, keep going. I'll ask my question in a sec.
No, I was just saying it felt like that was where it needed to end, with being as vague as possible.
Yeah. How long, you have this really great transformation kind of scene at the end. How long did it take to kind of transform that space?
A day.
A day?
I think. Yeah, maybe a day or like half a day, something like that. Yeah.
It looks beautiful, so it was really well done. Right.
Thank you. That's the production designer. I can't take credit for that. So, although I'd love to, some people have complimented me based mostly on her work, but it is great. So, yeah, we were very lucky to have her involved in the project.
Andy or Steven? Ambiguity in your endings, in a way, or ending your film where people aren't necessarily expecting them to end, or the way that they want them to end.
Yeah. So for like Home for the Night, I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, find that home, and all that stuff. But sometimes in life, you just need to find gratitude, in wherever you are, even if you're in a mental or in a physically tough space. So that's why towards the end, it's kind of like a silver lining, of just like we don't know what's going to happen from here on out, but it's not going to be a forever type thing. So I'm going to find comfort and peace right here, right now, with the person I'm with.
Yeah, I think with your film, that's the relationship between the two siblings is so central and so important.
Yeah.
How was that, building that up with the actors and developing that relationship with them?
So the funny thing is the actors are related in real life. Not brother and sister, but they are related. So that connection was already there. So that was great to work off with. But basically like setting up each actor with the story, getting them in zone with everything. It was just a lot of talking between the two actors, because it's a very personal story for one of them. So they kind of had a little powwow to get everything centralized on that, and that's how we took on that part.
Awesome, thank you. And then Andy, housekeeping ends, and
Yeah.
you want it to end one way, and you're like, oh, it's not going to end that way.
But you wanted the relationship to work out. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you're kind of
you kind of root for them. I mean, the ending is always the problem with a short film, I think. I mean, I wrote this film ages ago and never really resolved the ending, and then I wrote another short which was where I had the ending first, and that worked out really well. And then I came back to make this one, and I went through so many different endings and different, but in the end, I just wanted to have an ending that kind of had a resonance. I think if it was all tied up neatly in a bow and that was it, I don't know, it felt like it would sort of encapsulate the film and you just walk away. I mean, I wanted it to, and also I wanted there to be an element of realism. I mean, there's no way that relationship could have continued, and not without a lot of other things happening, which frankly in a 18-minute film you don't have time for. So I wanted an ending that showed him, there's a kind of confrontation at the end of the film between the two characters where after he finds out she's not a chambermaid in the hotel and she sees her doing a similar kind of thing to another guy in a hotel room, and he walks into the room and there's a kind of moment of tension and you think he's going to kind of call her out for it, and he hesitates and then decides to just leave things be. And yeah, I don't know, for me that was the sort of best ending I could think of. And I like the third character in that scene, who's this Russian businessman who's very funny.
How did you find, I think the actress that plays the chambermaid, Angelica,
Yeah,
she's so good. How did you find her?
So I originally had planned to use a Romanian actress that I'd worked with, who's amazing. But for various reasons, we were going to be shot in Serbia, and the producer is a Serbian guy. And he said, let's do a local casting for it because it's such a great character and there are great actors there. So, and in fact, Dunya, who I cast in the role, is Serbian, and it's the first thing she's done. I mean, she's been in theatre school, but it's the first time she's appeared in a film of any kind. So,
Wow.
I mean, and so that was really gratifying because I knew, in a way, she was brilliant, and the actor, who's kind of, to be honest, he's pretty well known in the UK, he's in The Crown and stuff like that. I was kind of all the way through, I wanted him to give more in his performances. I was like, come on, you know. And he delivered a very sort of kind of deadpan performance, which at times I felt frustrated by. I wanted him to kind of push it. But when it came to the edit, I kind of got it, and it worked really well against her. And she was sort of the dynamic one.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting that you didn't necessarily intend for that, because I think that was such an interesting aspect of the relationship too.
Yeah.
And I think it worked really well between the two of them, having her be so energetic and him kind of more monotone.
Good.
I guess so. We have about 5 minutes left, so we're starting to wrap up. I don't know if people necessarily want to answer this question, but how has COVID affected your films and kind of the life of the films right now?
Well, I'm going to answer for Hui because of the connection issues. So I think everyone's a little bummed that there's not so many in-person festivals, but I think that on the plus side that, you know, there is in a way a wider audience now because anybody can access these festivals online. So people who wouldn't be able to make it to Woods Hole could buy a pass or a ticket to see something. So I think that there is a plus side to that. Although it is nice to be able to meet the other filmmakers in person, the audience. There is something special about that. And you know, we got to go to a couple of festivals before this all happened, which was nice. But you know, I think that Woods Hole is doing a great job with the situation that we're dealing with organizing these Q&As, and they do have things for the filmmakers on that end. So, you know, I think that it's not all bad. I think it's actually there is a plus side to this situation.
Thank you for the compliment for Woods Hole. I did not ask them to compliment us.
You can wire the money into my.
Then Nami here at.
Anybody else?
What was the question again? Was it about this film specifically?
How did COVID affect the life of the film? How is COVID affecting the life of the film?
Yeah, I mean, I think it remains to be seen. Like, we're just at the very beginning of this, and I think I'm starting to wonder if anyone is ever going to see this film in a theater. Which, like, if we are kind of doing festivals like this over the course of the next, year, that'll kind of be the life of the film. And I hope that at some point like we get to see it on the big screen. And I ideally like I would love if there's a screening in LA at some point for the cast and crew, and like just to get everybody together. And yeah, I mean, along what Kyle was saying, it's like you guys are doing an awesome job. Like yesterday, I checked out the masterclass that was like festival strategy stuff, and it was really cool to listen in to that. Having said that, like, you know, I know you guys know this too. It's just like festivals are great because you like get to meet people and connect with people, and like, you know, the lights come down in a theater and you see a movie, and like that is like, no matter how good like our TVs get, like that is how films should be watched. And it's like that's like where the magic really happens, I think. So I don't know, I can only hope that at some point like all of us here, you know, get to come out the other side of this and still have like enough life left in the film to maybe actually go to a real festival or two.
Yeah, my experience changed in that I got to see the movie on an iPad for the first time. So
Good.
it looks good.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of Merlin, what he was saying, basic, like just the biggest bummer is just like not seeing the work we put in, like in theaters of how it should be made. Just because like you work so hard and you want to see it on the big screen and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the biggest effect for us on our end. And it's just like kind of like with Christopher Nolan, just pushing back Tenet. He's just like, it needs to be, everyone needs to see this in theaters. Just wait.
Yeah.
All right. Andy, any final comments before we?
I mean, I you know, to be honest, the Housekeeping played in a couple of festivals, and I went to a couple, and they're great. And although this kind of you know, it's played in a lot of what do you call these digital festivals or whatever, where there's no actual screenings, everything's remote. And it's cool doing these kind of things, but to be honest, this is only the second one I've done, and most of them, they're just, I don't know. I feel like I can't wait for it to go in another festival where I actually go to it, you know. And I was very selective about the festivals I went to, and now I wish I'd just gone to them all. Who knows when they'll be happening again, but we'll see.
Well, hopefully we'll all be in person again someday, and hopefully all of you will get to come into Woods Hole at some point. It is a great place. We're at time, so just want to say thank you all for joining us this morning, especially all our LA crew people who it is. Maybe 7 a.m. Is it not? It's not even 7 a.m. there yet.
Wow.
It's almost 7 a.m.
Well done.
Almost. Well, thank you for coming in so early. And the Woods Hole Film Festival is still running now through August 1st, so you can watch all these great films anytime you want over the next 3 days. Is it Thursday?
Yeah.
All right. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Shannon. Nice job moderating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.